Happy Thursday, everyone, and today we are on part 138 of Life Beyond the Grave, which is attached to the Vallow and Chad Daybell case. Crazy case, couples referred to as the Doomsday couple. This is a very detailed series of how this story got to the point that 4 lives were taken. If you enjoy the series, make sure that you sub, like, and comment. So right now in part 138, we're at the part of the timeline. It's August of 2019, the end of August, just weeks after Charles Vallow was shot. It's around Tuesday, August 6th, 2019, and Lori is interested in knowing if her son JJ was nearing 0. She writes, "He was just up talking nonsense for like 2 hours last night. I'm sure they were bugging him. Is he at 0 yet? I miss you." Chad responds with, "Yes, he's at 0. He probably was partly through the veil, talking to the people both light and dark." Lori is spending a lot of time with Melanie Boudreaux as well, and we know that Melanie during this time is having a hard time. She's going through a divorce. So on August 7th of 2019, there are texts about the day that Melanie and Lori spent some time together. Lori texts Chad saying, "I love you. Taking Braxy home now. I'll check on her. She's asleep. She put a bunch of holes in the walls and the doors. Definitely had demons helping her. Probably 1,000. Mel wants us to come up there tomorrow, but I said next Thursday to Sunday. What do you think? We are both tired of taking care of demons. We are weary. Please ask the Lord to take them." Suddenly, at some point, Lori becomes quite upset with Chad. She texts Melanie saying, "We just had a big fight. Probably a no-go next week." Melanie texts back, "Are you okay?" After that, Chad continues to reach out to Lori. "My heart is crushed. I will never stop loving you." Chad continues to try to reach out to Lori through text for the rest of the day, but she's just not responding. He then sends more texts saying Lori has lost her protections that he had given her, and then if she would at least respond with a thumbs up, he will work to restore the protections. At some point right after that, Lori responds with, "I love you." Chad seems to be using his gifts to try to control her a little bit here. And he says, "Well, I'll get to work getting things restored." Remember, Lori is speaking to God. She believes that God is speaking directly to her. Her temple visits are the only thing really driving her. Lori believes God seeks her because she is special and is involved with a special mission. Special gifts and powers that no one else has. They're able to communicate directly with angels. And even more importantly, they can communicate with the boss, God himself. Kay Woodcock, the sister-in-law of Lori Vallow, is still reaching out and talking to detectives. She tells investigators that she believes that the reason for Charles' death is most likely murder/homicide. She also tells investigators about some cruel treatment by Lori to animals she owned. How did Kay learn about these things? Well, some of it from Alex Cox, because he was always joking about these cruel things that they would do to animals. Lori owned 2 dogs once. She has those 2 dogs driven out to the desert and left abandoned in the middle of nowhere. Even worse, there was a time that someone that she knew didn't want their dog any longer, so Alex shot it, killed it. Another story is from a cousin saying that Lori was on a date one night. They run over an animal and they laugh about it. Turns out that Lori isn't that beautiful, loving mom. Not at all. And all these stories will help Charles' story make sense. How is it that a woman that loves her family could do the things that she was doing, and especially zero out her own kids, JJ and Tylee? Well, you have to think about it. 2 and 2 equals 4. If you don't have compassion, you don't have love, well, these type of things come easy. Sadly, it's years later that Kay Woodcock is starting to understand just how dark and evil Lori Vallow can be. And this is just sad because it's very scary for JJ right now. August 9th, 2019. Hi, Nathan. We are seriously worried about JJ's safety and well-being. Is it possible for you to check his school Monday to see if he's been there, and if he's okay? If he's out of his routine, he will be combative, uncooperative, etc. His teachers will know how his home life is just by how he acts. This is another letter of Kay reaching out to detectives for help. Kay says that she hasn't got any response to her texts about the kids, and that this stems from the fact that she didn't get the insurance money. Kay did. She says, we're extremely worried. We can't lose him too. Please, please, please help us. We're heartbroken. We cannot lose him too. If Lori was sane, I wouldn't be worried. She's not. She stated that she didn't want him anymore in January. Now she doesn't have the money. She really won't want him now. Other than a measly $1,900 Social Security check for her and JJ, she's screwed unless she can find a boyfriend with deep pockets. Anyways, she says, please help me, Kay Woodcock. So imagine being in her shoes. That is just such devastating to go through this, to be honest. She knows now that Charles is gone, that Lori is very serious about her threats, and she's very serious about not caring about JJ nor Charles. Kay is thinking back on what she does know, and even reflecting back and reminiscing about Joseph Ryan. Okay, guys, sorry for the background noise today. I've got this new mic and it's not doing very well. So you have Kay, who is figuring things out more than we realize. Not only that, she's reaching out and trusting in this detective. And it's just sad. So Kay Woodcock and Larry Woodcock have huge concerns about the safety and the well-being of JJ Vallow, and yet there's nothing they can do about it. Awful situation. August 9th of 2019, Lori texts Chad, who she called Bubby. Lori writes, it's pretty incredible. And then she puts fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji, fire emoji. And anyways, Chad texts, the fire is definitely burning. I miss you way too much. You have to stop or I might explode. I forgot the label who wrote this one. I think it's Lori, and it says the intensity of each encounter in my mind, one greater than the last. Fire emoji, fire emoji. Especially this last one. I never loved you more. It just keeps growing. Then Chad responds, I completely agree. You were definitely in a new territory in your bedroom. Now let's go ahead and pause a little bit and talk about the 144,000 in the ranking. So Joseph Smith asked almost the exact same question as many of us have. And who are these 144,000? According to Joseph Smith, the prophet of the LDS, the Lord give him an answer in Doctrine and Covenants 77:12 in response, to this question. What are we to understand by sealing the 144,000 out of all the tribes of Israel? 12,000 out of every tribe? The revelation of Joseph Smith states that the number 144,000 mentioned in Revelations 7, 4 through 8 is the number of ordained high priests out of the 12 tribes of Israel who will assist others in their quest for exaltation. And it isn't, as a lot of people might take it, as there's only 144,000 people that are selected to, gather and prepare for Jesus Christ's coming. Number one, they are extremely righteous men during their time while alive or on earth. Number two, they were ordained by angels whom are giving power over the nations of the earth. 3, their purpose is to come down at the end of times and assist people or ordain exaltation. And they are not the only ones who will attain exaltation either. So remember that Lori and Chad make it sound as though, at least what we're getting, the information we're getting, that there's only a select few that can be part of this Church of the Firstborn. But this is what D&C 77:11 through 12 says. We are to understand that those who are sealed are high priests, ordained into the holy order of God to administer the everlasting gospel. For they who are ordained, sorry guys, got tongue twisted, out of every nation, kindred, tongue, and people, by the angels whom is giving the power over the nations of the earth to bring as many as will come to the Church of the Firstborn. There's quite a difference of what the 144,000 is and who it is made of between Lori, Chad, and the Bible. Now, remember, Chad had mentioned multiple times that he and the men and his family could only work up to a certain place in the Mormon leadership. This seems to been a very deep concern to him, that he couldn't get past those certain levels he wanted to achieve. But now, he and Lori are creating their own reality, their own religion, which can't stop them from climbing that ladder they so much desire. A lot of people are focused on the fact that, so the narrative is Lori and Chad are the only ones that are leading this group, but that doesn't seem so true. Remember, Melanie Gibb was the regional manager for Preparing the People, and she was also ranked pretty high on Chad and Lori's list. Melanie is a believer and a teacher of dark and light, and she does teach classes. Just recently, in a Chad Daybell trial, witnesses testified to that. And the justice system is not pushing the correct narrative when it comes to Melanie Gibb, that she's kind of like a victim. And for those of us that's followed this case for 4 years, felt like there was something missing, there's a void. Well, you are 100% correct. There is a void. Several people are being overlooked. So just keep that in mind as we move forward in this series. So right now, we have another share from, it's August 9th of 2019, and it's for Nathan Moffat, a detective in Gilbert, and it has something to do with the subject of Alex Hawt and Lori Vallow. And guess who this email is from? Remember, Kay was sweating whether or not Adam was going to talk to investigators. After all, Adam Cox was related to Lori Vallow. But to her amazement, I'm sure this was a relief for her. And it is for me now, even going over it 4 years later. A letter comes in to Nathan from Adam's wife. She says, "Good evening, Nathan. I am married to Adam Cox, the brother of Alex Cox and sister Lori Vallow. I am emailing in regards to what happened to my brother-in-law, Charles Vallow, and feel like you need to know what is really going on. Pausing there. What she's about to tell us right now, and I might just do like a summary, gives you an idea of why Lori continued to be in danger and why she couldn't get the help that Charles thought that she needed that could have prevented all this altogether. It seemed that, she wrote, since all this had happened, the whole family on my husband's side has cut us out of their lives and deleted us off of their social media and won't talk to us. So why would the family do that to their own son who's trying to do what's right? Well, according to Adam's wife, it was because they are mad at them, that they know the truth, and that they won't lie. She tells Nathan what has already been kind of told to him through Kay. Lori and Alex both think that they're immortal beings. And Lori does a podcast and is a follower of Julie Rowe. So there you go. There's another hint. Where did this begin? Julie Rowe. She writes, this is like a cult. The last few months, Lori has been telling family members that Charles' body has been overcome by demons and that Charles needed to die. She told my son, Zach, this, and he called my husband and I both, telling us how crazy she was becoming. One day, she made up this lie, said Charles was cheating on her, and that she took his truck and clothes and cut off with his credit cards, took all the money in the bank and left him stranded somewhere. He couldn't even fly home. She tells Nathan about the time in January closer to February, where she took off and left Charles and JJ alone. She mentions that she was gone over 58 days. She also mentions the fact how Charles was actually calling and texting Adam Cox nearly every day because he was so worried and he couldn't believe that Lori, the mother of JJ, would leave her child. The rest of my family, my mother, my father-in-law, my sister-in-law, all cut Charles off. Very odd. He did nothing wrong. So she also mentions the fact that Lori shows the list, or maybe it was Charles, of family members that have been ranked, at least their spirit levels, and many of them were evil spirits. She also mentions the fact that Lori is spending her time talking to God all the time. And then there's mention of Tylee being a dark spirit. So finally, they're able to do this, get this information to the police. Some of Lori's own family members, which Kay was afraid of not happening. So there's something I want to mention, and guys, please bear with me on the background noise today because I'm having to work in a loud environment. Today we're going to talk about the ages of the kids at this time. So Tylee's 16, about to turn 17. That has a 7 in it. JJ Vallow is 7 years old. That number 7 is very valuable when you hear it in this case. In fact, you will even hear of 7 gatherers. And I would like to mention the fact that I will cover some of that. For now, we are going to skip this, and we'll talk about this later, I promise. It's around this time that Lori Vallow is orchestrating a plan along with Chad Daybell and Alex Cox to do something with these 2 zombies. Remember, Lori had texted around August 10th of 2019, to wait for the perfectly orchestrated plan to take the children to be carried out. Quote, we just have to wait for it to be carried out. I feel lost, like I should be doing something to help, end quote. According to Special Agent Douglas Hart, he believed that this was the hint that they were planning the deaths of JJ and Tylee. And one of the most damning replies Chad has made so far, in my opinion, was, quote, "I was shown last night how it fit together, but it has been taken from my mind, of course," end quote. We went over these texts, but I want to remind you about them. And what's really concerning for many people, and I don't think for Melanie Boudreaux at the time, is the fact that Melanie Boudreaux, a few of her children, are being referred to as zombies as well. And Lori gives the hint that Melanie Boudreaux more than understood and accepted that her children were zombies. Lori anticipated a wait for Charles' computer to come back to her, and she had wrote this in text and how she was, waiting impatiently, and she would find out, how this change of beneficiary happened, and she believed that it must have been done recently. For some odd reason, Chad doesn't like to deal with reality and suggests that anything and everything that doesn't go their way is not done in light. It's been forged, it's been rigged, and it's a lie. It's just another step of bringing down the Gladians. Besides, Brandon Boudreaux has quite an insurance policy over his head. So not getting Charles' insurance wasn't a big deal. It didn't seem they were upset, but they were like, well, we have more to look forward to. Guys, when it comes to JJ's service dog, Bailey, there are multiple accounts of what happened with this, but it all basically ends up at the same place. She gets rid of the dog. It is said that around August 9th of 2019, she had put Bailey up for sale for $2,500 under the name Lolo Ryan. Lori seemed to think that switching her name just a little bit would be enough to throw anybody that knew her off track. They wouldn't recognize her. If you notice, one of the names that she uses is Lolly Time Forever. Remember this, because we will talk more on this here and there, and we might even, go over it a couple of times. But that is one of her sisters that her mother lost. Stacy Cox is another daughter that was lost in the Cox family. And for a lot of us, they hit it very well that Kay Woodcock's concerns were under the radar or didn't really start until November, but that's not true. Kay Woodcock, her concerns started immediately after Charles Vallow's death. And Kay is begging and pleading and getting all the information she believes that these investigators need in order to help her, get JJ into safe hands. But they're just going slow. We don't know the reason for it, but I'm sure they'll have something. This isn't just one person reaching out to the police after a family fight. These are multiple people reaching out to investigators, including Brandon Boudreaux, to let them know they have concerns. So there's a lot of talk about portals, and one of the things that Hart shared in Lori's trial was around 11:27 a.m. In this month. Lori texted Chad, very good description of what just happened. Wish you were really here to experience it with me. So it almost sounds like they're using this portal to kind of have these intimate relationships. Lori texts Chad, thank you for being mine. Wish I could wake up and kiss your sweet, tender lips for real. You are my everything. Lori continues to send Chad some very luscious photos. One of them of her being in a yellow swimsuit on the beach. So that's on August 10th of 2019. And the text says, surprises are waiting. It's quite obvious what Lori's power is, and it's the power to control Chad through lust. And Chad is loving every minute of it. He'll even say in a text, you are doing everything right, my love. The Lord told me she is on the right track. He said to just keep resolving the telestial issues so you are unbecumbered and fully free. Lori Vallow replies, feels good. Talking to the real Blake. Getting close, I sense that he is barely attached to his body, she wrote. Chad wrote, you're so incredible in many ways. Your mission has barely begun. And again, Lori entices him by saying, yeah, as long as everything gets done, it'll end with me. So, it's so sad. And Agent Hart, said that JJ was nearly at 99.99%, and Tylee was at 0.13. Those numbers are very important considering as we move on through August and move into the beginning of September. Detectives believe that the lower the number that got to 0, the closer they were to leaving their body. This is going to be a long episode, guys. I'm sorry. Heather Daybell says that she's having a party for Isaac Daybell, Matt and Heather's son, because he's returning home from his long mission. This is also the same time for Chad's birthday. So Heather calls Chad to invite him, to come hang out at the party and have a family gathering. According to Heather, this will be one of Chad Daybell's last chats with family members. So that's around August 11th of 2019. And I might wait until the next video to play some true hidden crime interviews with Heather Daybell. But there are texts that Chad writes to Lori. I will join you. Partly why I'm so sad is my Boise trip is turned into a trip with extended family. Not happy about it. They want to go to Craters of the Moon National Park. I can't take much more. So trapped. So Chad feels like, things are being put off, especially with Tammy and JJ and Tylee again. And Lori writes, are we supposed to wait forever? This also most likely is interfering in their time together. Chad to Lori, no, but the next 2 days will be torture. Thankfully, I will be alone most of Wednesday and beyond. Then Lori has a question as to what God wants. Is this what he wants? For me to sit around waiting for you endlessly and you miserably wasting time? It just doesn't feel right. I'm just so frustrated. I'm sorry, honey, Chad responds. Lori's text, she continues to manipulate him, giving him the warning she will shun him. She says, you can't keep tearing my heart out. I really can't take it anymore. I'm sorry. While Chad is at this party with his family and spending time with his favorite person, Heather Daybell, Lori is attending an appointment the next day on August 12th of 2019 for Social Security. I think I already mentioned it, but she also puts Colby on her insurance policy, which is kind of strange. According to Lori's son, Colby Ryan, he says it will be around August 13th of 2019 that he last sees Tylee and JJ. While Chad is still enjoying family time, Lori is searching to purchase 2 glow-in-the-dark malachite rings from Etsy, which was on August 14th of 2019. But the manufacturer is unable to fulfill the order because of a declined credit card. And here's the time we've all been waiting for, is that knock your socks off moment. At least for maybe some of you. Some of you might be on it more than I realize. So, Lori's dad is named Barry Cox. And he has to sit in jail at some point for writing a false document to the judge. Now remember, Barry's got things going on with the IRS. And he owes them loads of money. And he had put his house in his son's name, Alex Cox. What we did learn is Alex Cox supposedly refinanced that home and is accused of taking nearly $250,000 and blowing it on prostitutes. What's odd is the parents seem to forgive Alex for it because there's been other accusations over and over and over. So if they have this problem, they just look past it and then let him back in. So remember, Stacy, his sister, passed away. And we've heard that Alex is alleged of using her credit card after she had passed away. The source is supposedly an email from Coco Adams' wife. And what have I learned from Alex Cox with the little bit of information that we got is that he could be selfish, cold, and would cut you as you lay dying. He will cut you while you're in jail as well. And here he is, supposed to be a protector, an angel, a translating being, a man of God. He's religious? I'm not too certain. Zulema will claim that he 100% believed in this stuff, but I'm not too sure. To me, Alex Cox seems like the type of man that will do things that people only see in horror movies. And Lori knows this. In fact, it makes you wonder if the people within their group knew this and was the reason for loyalty to their group. Remember, people like David Warwick, who wasn't initially part of this group, he knew about point systems and how they work because he was in a gang. Melanie and David both were now being sucked into this dark group trying to earn points for their titles and ranks. And at some point, some of these people, especially Melanie and David Warwick, would start putting two and two together and seeing that Alex Cox is basically an angel of mafia. So before I go, share below, who do you think Alex Cox is? Is he this naive, protective brother that just wanted to do anything to help Lori? Or was he having a good time? Do you think he believed in this religion? Or do you believe he was just going with the flow? Don't forget, we still have these missing girls out there. Share one of them or all of them on your social media today. And guys, I could use your help. If you like the work that I do, which is a lot, just push like, comment. You can even subscribe, which will really help. And you can share. Thank you to those who have gone out of their way to help me out. And I love you guys. And I hope everyone is having a beautiful and amazing Mother's Day. Love you guys, and I'll see you guys soon.